Team Tampa Bay is officially on the clock, baby. We are here in December of 2022, but come December of 2023, the NCAA Volleyball Championships, the Final Four, will be invading Amalie Arena. We are so excited. 14 years in the making. That is what this episode, 2 parts, by the way. So you get a bonus on this Game Day Everyday podcast here as we give you an extra little Christmas gift ahead of the holidays, always in the giving mood. Welcome, everybody, to the Game Day Everyday podcast alongside the Executive Director of the Tampa Bay Sports Commission, Rob Higgins. I am Ryan Bass. Rob, you just had an opportunity to visit Omaha for the 2022 NCAA Volleyball Championships. Come next year, it'll be here in our hometown of Tampa Bay, baby. What an awesome experience. I got to kind of see it through your vantage point on social media, but how cool was it to be there and spread the good word about Tampa Bay?
It was absolutely fantastic. We had a blast. We had a great delegation there, representatives from not only the Sports Commission with me and Claire and Jason and Tony, but also Visit Tampa Bay as well as Amalie Arena, all there, taking a lot of notes, taking a lot of pictures. You can really feel the excitement, no matter what the group is, from the coaches who were at the ABCA convention to the fans that we were visiting with in the concourse in Omaha's arena. Everybody's really pumped up for next year. So when Texas captured the national title and the confetti fell onto the court and they got the trophy, you could definitely sense also the excitement to be in Tampa a year from now. So we're pumped. We could not be more excited. The work and the journey is ahead, but I can tell you we're going to do everything we can to knock this out of the park.
So I know you tend to do a lot of fun things when you're on trips. I know it was cold and snowing in Omaha. Did you get a chance to wear your flip-flops, though, just to showcase to everybody that come December next year, they can wear flip-flops in Tampa Bay for the volleyball championships?
I think the closest I came to doing anything Tampa-centric was to wear the sunglasses every now and then. That was to keep the snow off my face. But in all seriousness, the folks in Omaha did a fantastic job. There's a reason why they've hosted it as many times as they have, and they certainly were very hospitable to us, and we had great meetings with them. We had great walkthroughs with them, and we're really appreciative of all of their support. But I can tell you, we're going to do our part to put our own spin on it, put our own touches of Tampa Bay on it, take the good and what we learned in Omaha, but then add the things that we do really well and play to our strengths. So we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a fantastic event in a year from now.
We have so much to go over on this episode, so many special guests that are going to be joining us as well. It's going to be so cool to look ahead to what will be 14 years in the making. As I mentioned, we last hosted the NCAA Volleyball Championships in their Final Four in 2009, and boy, has our city changed ever since then, Rob. So it's going to be awesome to kind of take you guys through the journey over this next year as we get ready for these volleyball championships. But coming up on this 2-parter, we've got 2 parts, by the way. So if you are listening, again, this is part 1 of our Game Day Everyday podcast as we get you towards the holidays here. Part 2 will be coming up a little bit later on this week. So if you're listening, check it out later on this week, wherever you get your podcast. Part 2 will drop. But we've got some fantastic guests that are going to be joining us here on this podcast, especially in part 1. Kristin Fasbender, the NCAA Director of Championships, works specifically around women's volleyball. We're going to get a chance to catch up with her, Rob, as you were in Omaha, getting a chance to speak with some of our special guests. Gators, the legendary coach Mary Wise will join us as well. 32 years at the helm of the Florida Gators program, one of the greatest to ever do it. We'll get a chance to catch up with her. And USF Athletics Hall of Famer and Georgia Tech coach Michelle Collier will be on this podcast episode as well. Rob, you got to hang with the best and the brightest over in Omaha, man.
Man, it was awesome. It truly was a great experience. And you're going to find out with some special news I'm about to drop on you right here that there's a common thread with each of these guests, especially on the coaching side of things. So we're excited to share and unveil. You guys are hearing it first, a special event to kick off the season. Everyone knows we're ending the season, the volleyball season, in our hometown of Tampa Bay, but we are also going to start the college volleyball season here with a special event called the Road to Tampa Bay Invitational. It's going to take place on August 25th and 26th at Amalie Arena, as well as the Yuengling Center. And it's going to feature 4 awesome college volleyball programs. Naturally, our host institution, USF, will be in it, as well as Georgia Tech, the University of Florida, and Penn State University. So 4 great programs, no better way to kick off the season. You could bet there's a pretty good chance that some of these teams, maybe multiple of these teams, will have the opportunity to end their season at Amalie Arena and the Yuengling Center as well. But it's something that was really important to us. Naturally, getting an opportunity to host the culmination of the season is really important. But we thought starting the season to really pave this road to Tampa Bay would be an awesome opportunity to get people excited, even more excited than they already are, for what's going to be a really special college volleyball season.
And a bunch of special programs to have the Gators and Penn State, Georgia Tech, and obviously our hometown USF Bulls in that invitational is going to be exciting and special. So the volleyball season for 2023 for the NCAA begins and ends in Tampa Bay with the invitational, the road to Tampa Bay Volleyball Invitational. By the way, ticket information, match schedules, other details, those will all be announced on tampabaysports.org. So make sure you stay tuned to that. We, of course, will keep you updated here on the Gameday Everyday podcast regarding all of that. But Rob, so exciting to start the year, to end the year, and truly showcase our city. We mentioned it. We're going to get to some of our guests here in a moment. But as you are gearing up for December 13th to the 16th in 2023, again, 2009, and what a special year that was. Penn State, one of the teams that will open up the season here in Tampa Bay, they came down 2 sets to defeat Texas in the championship match. So I like kind of tying in, Penn State, which will start the year, Texas, which just won the championship. And back then, it was the 102nd consecutive match victory for Penn State, finishing off a 38-0 season. What do you remember from that 2009 championship, and what can you take from that? Obviously, our city has changed so much. There was no Riverwalk. There was no Sparkman Wharf. So much has really grown in Tampa Bay. What can you take from that experience, Rob, that can kind of filter into what we're going to prepare for here come December 13th to the 16th of next year?
Well, people haven't seen us in the last 4 or 5 years. They won't recognize us. Imagine if you haven't been here since 2009. I mean, we are a totally different community. Certainly, there's lessons that we learned as part of it. We're fortunate to have a lot of continuity with our staff, a lot of people that were involved back then with each of our key groups are still around. So it certainly is something where we'll take those things that really worked well back then and add them into some of the things that we've done a little bit more recently. But I think the key message again will be how much things have changed since we last hosted. I will say the growth too of the sport of volleyball over this almost decade and a half has been unreal. That's something we'll get into with each of our guests on the show today, is that the sport has really transformed as well. So you look between the destination and the sport and how much each of us have evolved. It really is a match made in heaven. And it's something that we're looking forward to diving in and getting some more perspective from each of our guests. The other great thing about this Road to Tampa Bay Invitational, though, Ryan, that we're pumped about is each of these 4 programs are led by female head coaches. And so how much emphasis that we've put around supporting women's athletics through a lot of our programs, whether it's the Beyond series, to what Claire and our team does with WISE. The support around women's sports is very real here. It's part of our DNA. And so we were very intentional around which programs that we wanted to include for the Road to Tampa Bay Invitational. And we want this entire journey of the next women's volleyball season to be a celebration of women's sports. And there's no better way to kick it off than having 4 programs that have 4 amazing female coaches.
And we're going to have a chance to hear from Claire Lessinger on part 2 of this Gameday Everyday podcast as she was all set up. I saw the booth there in Omaha and kind of get her take and experience from Omaha. And as we gear up and prepare for an event I know she personally is touched by, a Hall of Famer herself on the volleyball court and a former coach as well. So I know that she personally is very proud and excited to host this event. So really grateful to listen to her. Also coming up on episode 2, we're going to get into the growth of the game of women's volleyball, Rob. It really has been a meteoric rise for women's volleyball, not just here in the Tampa Bay area, but truly nationally. It's been so cool. I can't wait to see the ratings numbers that come out from this year's Women's Volleyball Championship. If it's anything like it was in 2021, we're going to continue to see that steady growth. So that is coming up on part 2. of this podcast. But here is the point of this part one, where we want to hear from some of our special guests that you got a chance to catch up with in Omaha, starting with Kristin Fasbender, the NCAA Director of Championships for Women's Volleyball. She's been at the helm since 2010. She's no stranger, by the way, to hosting events in Tampa Bay either, Rob, having led the Frozen Four efforts. We'll have it back here in 2023, but she was here in 12 and 16. Just give me a little bit of an insight into Kristin. I mean, she obviously is a very special lady, 15 years plus with the NCAA and leading championships, and she's certainly excited about the road to Tampa Bay coming up.
Kristin has been a dear friend at Team Tampa Bay, and we talk about strong women leaders. I would put Kristin right at the top of that list of folks that I've known and have respected and just really enjoyed collaborating with, whether it's been on Frozen Four or college volleyball as well. She's been the consummate partner, so insightful, so balanced, and such a hard worker. And so we've really enjoyed the opportunity to get a chance to work with her. And let's go ahead and listen in to a great interview and catching up with her this past week in Omaha. We're joined by Director of Championships for the NCAA, Kristin Fasbender, who's a dear friend of Team Tampa Bay and has been working on the volleyball championship for how many years now?
Since 2010. So what's this make next? 13, maybe 12?
Wow. So you just missed us in 2009, right?
I did. I missed you guys in 9, and my first one was 10 in Kansas City.
So what are your early impressions of Omaha? How has this week gone for you so far?
It's gone really well. Omaha does a great job. There's a great volleyball market here. It's a volleyball state. And so, we never have a doubt that the matches are going to be sold out and amazing. And then just the way that it's set up here in the city, too, it's nice for the convention. It's a little cold for people. There's some snow. I think we had 2 teams that were like, I haven't seen snow necessarily before. But it's been a great week here for all of us.
Obviously, the focus is always on the student-athlete experience. You're a mom of an NCAA student-athlete now. And so, as you look at this championship, what are the things that you focus on from a student-athlete experience to make sure that it goes off without a hitch?
So we try and do new things every year. One of the first, this year we tried to add more student imaging when it came to signage underneath in the bowl for the student athletes in the locker rooms. We did a student athlete lounge on the Wednesday, which is kind of their really busy day here at the arena because they're doing practice and media, and sometimes there's a little bit of sitting around for some of the student athletes. So we had a student athlete lounge that had coffee bar for them, it had smoothies, it had a 360 camera, which everybody loved, and just lots of fun things that they could do in that time to kind of recharge and relax while they were getting ready for practice. And then we do student athlete dinners / banquets for them, which was a time for their team on Wednesday nights. But then after that, they're pretty much rolling through and they have their set kind of what they want to do and get done. So we did some things where we could, but it's always student athlete experience is the top priority.
That's awesome. We've had a chance to visit with Michelle Collier and Mary Wise the last couple of days, and they talked a lot about the growth of the sport of volleyball. So from your perspective, how have you seen the growth really translate to everything from TV viewership to attendance and just about anything you can imagine?
I think the attendance one for me has been amazing to see over the last couple of years. We set attendance records last year in Columbus, and their building was bigger than we are here. We were sold out the other night. I think that it is growing. It's the fastest growing sport for high school student athletes that are playing it, and it is growing that fast. And I think too for us, just once you get people in the building to see it, I don't think there's anything like seeing volleyball in person. Our television has been amazing this year. ESPN's made a real commitment to continuing to grow it. They see the value in it. They took matches that were on Plus or ACC Network, moved them to ESPNU, moved them to ESPN. We had matches on 2 throughout the season. And then we started off the first and second rounds with all 48, I think it was 48 matches, I can never remember, all 48 matches on ESPN Plus for first and second rounds. And they added a whip around show called The Fifth Set, which 6 months ago was just something we all talked about. So you could really, they bopped back around to all sorts of matches, kind of like the NFL Red Zone. And so we've had great opportunities already so far, and we just see that continuing to grow.
That's awesome. So over the last it's going to be a 14-year gap in between when we hosted in 2009 in Tampa and now hosting in December of 2023. As you went through the bid process with the committee, what were some of those factors that led you guys to awarding Tampa for December 2023?
Well, I think, one of the big ones was we haven't been there since 2009. We've been in a lot of places, we have been other places back to back, and we know, part of it is we know what you all can do. I have had the benefit of working 2 Frozen Fours already in Tampa and was part of the process that has the other one coming back in 23 here this spring. And so we know that the commitment that you all have to college sports, the volleyball in your area is growing and continues to grow. Mary is a great advocate. We've got USF there as our partner for the tournament. And so I think we also have an opportunity to continue to grow the game even more. We've been kind of in that Midwest-ish stretch for the last few years. I would say your coaches and the Coaches Commission are going to love that it's warm. We heard that a lot in our last mid-cycle that we were in a lot of places. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to expand, bring it back. We're looking to coming back. We think it was you guys put together a very great bid, and it was very well worth. And we should be coming back, so we're excited.
Awesome. Well, we couldn't be more excited as well. When you look at next December, or you look at this week, when you try to define success for the event, what are those factors that you're looking for?
There's nothing like, I've been doing this for 23 years, and there's nothing like championship night in any championship. I don't care what it is. As long as those student athletes have left with a great experience. We all know that they're in event planning, everything never goes exactly how it's supposed to, but as long as to them everything looks the way it should, and they have the best experience, and they walk out into that court on championship night to a full building, and the lights and bells and whistles and things that they don't get all year, that's a success to me. It's just a matter of seeing the smiles on their faces when they're getting ready to line up, and the nervous energy that's there, but just the excitement around the city too.
Well, thank you so much for all you do for not only student athletes, but for communities like ours. I mean, you guys make a true impact, and it's great to partner with you. We can't wait to officially be on the clock here and ready to roll for what's going to be a special time in December of 2023.
Well, we're very excited. I'm excited to come back to Tampa and can't wait. It's going to be great.
What an awesome interview, Rob, and catching up with Kristin. And one of the things that I love about her story is she actually never attended a national championship game as a student athlete. And now she makes a career out of helping to coordinate them. And so being able to kind of hear and listen to her perspective and how excited she is. She came to the NCAA national office as a post-grad intern in '97. And to see her kind of rise throughout the ranks, I think speaks to a lot of the female influences we have, not only within our organization, but on this podcast. And so really awesome to get an opportunity to hear from her. And Rob, we're not done. We've got 2 more special guests coming up on this podcast, including a USF Athletics Hall of Famer who you got a chance to catch up with.
Absolutely. And loved getting an opportunity to visit with Michelle Collier. Her and I were in college at the exact same time. I had the good fortune of getting an opportunity to work on a lot of her matches. I was after finishing up being a basketball manager, as you know, I was in the facilities and event management department. And so my office was in the corral where the volleyball team played. And then I also worked all of their home matches. And I can tell you that of any college female athlete I've ever had the opportunity to watch, Michelle Collier was one of the most dominant and athletic players that I've ever seen. And I mean, I could just recall greatly the way that she would just take over matches. I mean, she would jump out of the gym and just was so impressive. And I always knew, because of her high IQ, that if she ever got into coaching, she would be a great fit there. And she ended up going and working at Jacksonville, and then now is the head coach at Georgia Tech. And her resume speaks for itself. But it's great to have her team in the road to Tampa Bay Invitational, and it was awesome catching up with her. So let's go ahead and listen into another great interview from Omaha with Georgia Tech head volleyball coach and USF alum, Michelle Collier. I think people in Tampa obviously are really familiar with your playing career at USF, and now you've gone on to coaching. How excited are you to come back in August for the road to Tampa Bay Invitational?
Yeah, no, super excited. I think it'll be a great tournament, some great coaches, great programs. I think a perfect way to kickstart what's going to be a great Final Four, and just excited to be back. It's always nice to be back. You're going to have some friends and family around and people around that kind of know the history and been around the game for a long time. So just, excited to be back there and get to compete again. I think we get to play at USF too.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So,
It'll be nice to be back in the Yuengling Center. And when you look back at your playing days at USF, how much fondness do you have of those memories with your teammates? I mean, you guys were incredible. You had all those tournament runs. What comes to your mind when you think about your days on Fowler Avenue?
Yeah, just very grateful. Such a great experience, and I think it really molds what I want from my players to feel. I really had a very positive experience at South Florida in Tampa. I just love the community, and it's home away from home for me, right? So it's just like, it always just feels great to get back there. But I really think it taught me a lot, and I hope that, that's the type of feeling I want my players to, when they walk out away from Georgia Tech volleyball, like they just feel like a bond forever. I was just texting with everybody that Claire and I were here, so it's a good time for sure.
So you've had the chance to visit Tampa in recent years on a handful of different occasions, and you've seen how much it's grown. I mean, what have been your impressions of how much has changed since you and I were in school at USF?
Yeah, no, it's very different. I think I went there, I want to say 2 years ago. And I just saw the whole, like, all that older construction by the Riverwalk, is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that whole area. I went back for an alumni stuff, I think, last year too, and we stayed kind of next to the convention center in that area, and it all has grown so much, and you guys with the Tampa Bay Sports Commission, you guys have done a tremendous job. Like, every event there is awesome. You getting all kinds of event there, so it's just like, it's going to be first class, and you guys are going to do an awesome job, and the city has grown so much. People are going to love it.
That's what we're hoping for. We'll see what ends up happening.
There is no doubt.
When as a head coach and you're preparing your team to play an event, whether it's the Road to Tampa Bay Invitational or the national semifinals, what do you look for in an event venue? Like, what are you hoping for in terms of that student athlete experience?
Yeah, no, I think a place that's high class. I think that a place that it's valuing the sport and just highlighting the players, allowing the players to connect with the crowd. I think allowing the crowd to have a good feel of how physical the game is, how intense. I think that those things are important. Giving them good facilities to be able to navigate in and out. I think that it's a pretty special time in their careers. And to have a place that sees that at a high value, and it treats them as high-class athletes, I think that it's going to be super important, especially, the game is growing, and it's getting better and better. It's on TV more, everybody plays, and I think this women are playing at a very high level. They're athletic, they're strong, and they should be treated as first-class athletes. And I think that having a facility and an event that makes them feel that way, it's going to be awesome.
I want to talk a little bit more about that. You've seen the growth of women's volleyball over these last 2 to 3 decades, and it's crazy how much the sport has transformed. If we could just get a little bit of your perspective on, from your playing days to now as a coach at a Power 5 program, how has the sport evolved in your eyes?
Yeah, no, I think that I think that obviously transfer portal and all that created even bigger parity. So there's a lot more teams competing at a lot higher level, and everybody's kind of beating up on everybody, and you just don't, you show up and you don't know who's gonna win, and so I think that is great for the game, but I also think that women and the athletes that are playing, they're proud of what they're doing. NIL is a big thing now, so then they can, the more they compete, the bigger the presence they have on that court, the more people know their name. It's helpful for that staff and for the team and for the program, and then it grows the game. So I think that I think we're all still adjusting to a lot of that stuff, but there's some positives to it, and I think that it's been great. I think that the profession is growing. You've seen, we got 2 women in the Final Four this year. Last time was only in 1993. I think it was the last time that happened. So that opportunities are growing for everybody to coach, for everybody to do it at a high level. ESPN is doing a great job, putting the game out there. I think that all the networks from the conferences and exposing, like all these things are very, very positive, and people are seeing results. They're putting the game out there, and people are watching. People are attending. Like we sell out every match at Georgia Tech this year. And we had a record-breaking crowd at our basketball arena. And Wisconsin had record at Creighton, and I mean all of these guys. Nebraska is 300 some. Like the game is just, it's awesome. It's a great game. People are now, more and more people are being exposed to it, and then they're showing up and watching it and supporting it. So I think that the growth on TV has definitely impacted the attendance in person, and I think it's going to be a great event.
And last question for the Road to Tampa Bay Invitational. You hit on the fact you have 2 female head coaches here this week in Omaha, but we actually are kicking off the season next year with 4.
Yes.
With you guys,
pretty awesome.
Florida, Penn State, and USF. It's going to be a pretty cool deal. How excited are you to kick off next season right there? And it's a homecoming of sorts in Tampa.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm honored that you guys thought of Georgia Tech and thought of me to be part of this event. Some great coaches, and I think that you it's a great job that you advocating for that as well. You've given us a space, to have such a great tournament, a high-level tournament, and with a pretty meaningful message behind it too, which is pretty cool. So I'm excited. I'm excited to compete. It's going to be some tough matches, but we're going to get out there and we're going to battle, and we'll be ready.
I'm sure you will. Michelle, we can't wait to have you in August, and then hopefully again in December. We'll tell everybody back home you said
like
hello.
Plan.
Even Colin Sherwin, we'll let him know.
We'll let him. Hey, Colin, we got you, buddy.
But thank you so much for your time. Enjoy your time here in Omaha.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Great to hear from Coach Collier, and her perspective obviously has such love and affection for the Tampa Bay area. USF Athletics Hall of Fame. We're so excited to kick off the volleyball season for 2023 with the Road to Tampa Bay Invitational with Coach Collier and the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. One of the premier college volleyball clubs coming to town will, of course, be the Florida Gators. I don't think it's a stretch to say one of the best to ever do it from a coaching perspective is Coach Mary Wise. For UF, 920 wins, 126 losses in 32 seasons. We're talking about a 13-time SEC Coach of the Year. Began her tenure with the Gators in '91, and she is still going strong. Rob, what an opportunity you had to catch up with one of the GOATs of the game in Coach Wise.
Well, she's a legend in the coaching industry and has done so much for the sport of volleyball, not only nationally, but also in the state of Florida. And you actually heard it in Kristin's interview when she talked about what were our bid strengths, and she referenced Mary being so supportive of our bid and her passion in bringing it back. So we truly appreciate Coach Wise and all of her support. We look forward to working with her throughout to market the event and help make sure that every seat in Amalie Arena is filled. And again, we appreciate her sitting down with us in Omaha for her giving us some of her perspective on what it means to the state of Florida for us to be hosting this great event. We could not be more excited to welcome you guys to the Road to Tampa Bay Invitational this coming August. What does an event like that kicks off this national championship season mean to you and your program, as well as volleyball in the state of Florida?
Right, it's great that just as early as the start of the season, that all eyes in the volleyball world will be looking to Tampa. And to the start of the season and at the end of the season, we're thrilled to have that much of the women's collegiate volleyball attention be directed towards Tampa. And we know that Tampa has shown over and over again what a fantastic job that city does in hosting any kind of sporting event.
And we've got 4 great programs in it with you guys, the Gators, Penn State, Georgia Tech, and USF, all led by female head coaches. How great is that for people to get a chance to see the rise of female coaches through an event like that?
Yeah, it is sort of interesting that in women's volleyball, even in 2022, that there aren't more teams coached by women. There's some phenomenal males coaching, but there's also a number of phenomenal women coaching, and I appreciate the fact that Tampa is putting the attention towards those of the teams that are coached by women.
Absolutely. So we haven't hosted the national championship since 2009. It's been, in our minds, almost close to 14 long years. For those that don't know about the growth of volleyball in the state of Florida, what can you share about how much the state has changed over these last 14 years when it comes to this amazing sport?
If I can go back even further than 14 years, because I've kind of been around that long, that when we first came to Florida, the volleyball was in pockets. And Tampa would be one of them. It was in Lauderdale, Tampa, Orlando, but it wasn't from the Panhandle to Jacksonville all the way to the southern tip of the state and everywhere throughout. Volleyball is the #1 team sport for girls nationwide and in Florida, and I think it speaks volumes to the growth of the sport.
Absolutely. Now, we got to know Claire Lessinger through hosting in 2009. USF was our host institution. She was the head coach then, and we thought so highly of her that we had to hire her.
See,
and so,
we did the same thing in recruiting a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you could just touch a little bit on how Claire is as a person and a leader, and how she was back as a player, and how proud you are of her now and her incredible leadership abilities.
Well, I think the testament to the impact Claire had in our program is that we had a defensive award because she came in, although she was recruited as a pin hitter, multiple knee injuries and surgeries kept her from playing front row. But we named the defensive award after her, and the grit, determination, competitiveness, hard work ethic, all of that she brought to the court, I think that has transcended well into coaching and now the Tampa Sports Commission.
Absolutely. So last question, I know you're busy and gotta get on the move here. When you look at the road to Tampa Bay Invitational and then the national championship, what would your message be to fans in terms of supporting that event, supporting your great program, supporting these amazing student athletes, and showing up and being in the stands to watch what's going to be two great events?
I think if you look around the country in the 2022 season and see all of the record attendance matches, one of which we had the honor of being participants in, that women's volleyball and the attention, the amount of TV coverage we're getting, the fans in the stands, it just keeps growing and growing. Let's show the United States, the world, what Tampa means to women's volleyball by showing up twice. Let's do Tampa twice.
Let's do it. And a little known fact, our arena is actually bigger than the record venue, so we have a chance to set that record, maybe not once but twice. So we're looking forward to it. Go Gators. We appreciate all your support, not only on the bid to bring the College National Championship here, but also participate in the Road to Tampa Bay Invitational.
Thank you very much.
Coach.
It was great to get a chance to visit with Coach Wise as well as Coach Collier and Kristin. I mean, what a lineup of guests. When we go to the 2-part series of podcasts, you know that it's going to be action-packed and filled, don't you, Ryan?
Oh, there's without question. And I don't know when you think about the episodes we've done on this podcast, to have a string of 3 guests in a row like this, it doesn't get much better. And so to have the 3-time, National Coach of the Year joining us it's sensational. And so 8 NCAA Final Four appearances. How cool would it be to have yet another at a 9th to that in Tampa Bay if Coach Mary Wise and the Gators are able to end the season in Tampa for the NCAA Volleyball Championships? We've got an awesome part 2 coming up here. Consider it a bonus little Christmas gift for all of our dedicated listeners here on the Game Day Everyday podcast. Coming up on part 2, we'll continue our conversation from Omaha. We'll get into the growth of the game, Rob. There's no sport in my mind that's growing faster and truthfully, being engaged more than the sport of women's volleyball. And so we'll get into some of what we've seen, and especially here in the Tampa Bay area, plus a couple of our special guests and what to expect in 2023 for the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. We've got a lot of awesome events that are coming up. We'll get a preview of that coming up. That's part 2 of the Game Day Everyday podcast. Stay tuned. It's coming up here later on this week.